Hi, I'm Stephanie Priest. I am the CEO and the founder of Ignite Fitness and Kickboxing, as well as the Ignite Method. And on this channel, if you're new to our channel, first of all, welcome. We are so happy to have you. Our goal is to share with you information that not just helps make you feel amazing, but also helps you get to your goal from a lifestyle and a sustainability perspective. That's what we do. We've helped thousands of people along the way get to the other side of their journey by focusing on lifestyle, by focusing on making certain that this is something that is sustainable. And we like to share all of the amazing tips and tricks with you guys along the way. So here we go. Today in this video, we are going to talk about the top 8 mistakes that we all make and have made in making our smoothies, and how it is that maybe those smoothies are not helping us lose weight the way that we wanted them to. So there's 8 of these, and we've all made these mistakes along the way. And I'm just very excited to be able to be like, okay, like this is how we're going to make the smoothie, and this is how the smoothie is going to be awesome. So one of the very first things that I find a lot of people do is that they'll use fruit juice, right? So they'll use orange juice, they'll use apple juice as their base for their smoothie. And let's talk about that. Tons of sugar, right? 26 grams of sugar in roughly 8 to 10 ounces of OJ or apple juice. So that's more than our recommended daily values, right? You guys hear me talk about sugars all the time, and our recommended daily value is about 25 grams a day. What we find is that the average American takes in about 75 grams of sugar a day. And whenever you have those significant amounts of sugar in your system, particularly early in the morning, because that's normally when people do smoothies, is you have those blood glucose spikes in the morning, right? When that happens, then you also have insulin spikes. Whenever that happens, you end up storing fat. So we really want to eliminate that. So an alternative to using our fruit juice is to use some type of nut milk, right? So it could be coconut milk, it could be oat milk, any of those things. Really look to using those as an alternative. So that's what this is really going to be today, is talking about some alternatives for us. So that would be like the first mistake that a lot of us make is, having all of that fruit juice as our base. Number 2, having too much protein. And it's interesting because I love protein. It's like my jam. I'm a big proponent of protein. I want to insulate all the muscle it is that I have in my body, and I'm going to make more muscle all the time. But there is something that is considered too much protein. So what you'll find a lot of times is people will put protein in, and they'll put BCAAs in, and then they'll put this in, and they'll put that in, because they're all really great sources, right? But putting all of them in on top of each other ends up and like having all of that stuff at once, that doesn't even count like the other protein that you're going to get from regular sources. Like if you're using fats, if you're using like butters, if you're using like healthy like fruits and things like that, you're naturally going to get protein from those as well. So this is the thing, when you throw in all the protein and you throw in like all the BCAAs and you throw in all the powders, one on top of another all at once, right? You're going to end up with too much protein. So we really want to look at having like 15 to 30 grams of protein whenever you're using a powder. That's going to be like that optimal range for you. Whenever you end up with too much protein, there's this thing called gluconeogenesis. That's like a mouthful, right? I can't even say it. Gluconeogenesis. And what ends up happening there is the protein actually turns to a carbohydrate and your body stores it. So think about that whenever you're adding in all that extra protein. We don't want to end up with too much protein in the body. So that's the second thing. You want to look at like 15 to 30 grams. Boom. Tip number 2. Tip number 3, lots of us, and you'll hear this a lot of times in the United States, you'll hear these catchwords, right? Like IBS, bloating, things like that. And one of the things a lot of us do is we'll put raw kale in our smoothies. It's not that raw kale is bad. It's just that know that it's difficult for our bodies to break down kale. So consider not using it raw. Consider like steaming it and then freezing it and then popping it in. It's just easier for your body to break down, and it's easier in your GI system. And if it's easier on your GI system, right, there's less bloating, there's less IBS symptoms and all that good stuff. That's tip number 3, right? Instead of using raw kale, steam that sucker up, throw it in the freezer, and then pop it in. You can also just go ahead and buy kale that has already been steamed, right? Like they already have that and it's already frozen. So you can just grab it that way. Tip number 3, you're welcome. Like we're just like giving all the tips today. Okay. The 4th tip that I'm going to give you guys is I love fats. That's actually a tip. Yeah. But I really want you guys to think about healthy fats, right? There's a way to use fats properly and there's a way to use fats improperly. Fats actually stabilize our blood glucose. And you've heard that before when we've talked about it in the hormone series. If you haven't listened to the hormone series, you should listen to the hormone series. So fats actually stabilize our blood glucose levels, which is super, super, super important. So what we want to do is we want to add fats in, but we want to add healthy fats in, right? We want to stabilize that blood glucose level. It's really easy to be scared of fats because when we think of fats, we're like, ooh, fats make us like fat, right? They add more fats into our body. But if they're used properly, that's not necessarily the case. And we're going to get into more tips on that in just a little minute. So it's okay to use fats. That's tip number 4. Tip number 5. You guys are using way too much fruit. I love fruit. I love strawberries. I love blueberries. I love bananas. I love like all the fruits, every single fruit. I love fruits. But what ends up happening is we have too much sugar, right? And we've talked about this already in the beginning. When we have too much sugar, what happens? Our blood glucose levels go up. We get hungry, right? Because the sugar doesn't satiate us. It increases the spike in the insulin levels. We end up storing fat, right? So I really want you guys to think about that. How much fruit am I actually using? Am I using too much fruit whenever I'm using the fruit that I actually have? How many sugars are actually in the fruits that I'm using? And if I was using fruit juice, do you see how quickly all of this can like build itself up on top of each other? So all of this stuff is really important. So number 5 tip, don't use too much fruit, right? Really look at that sugar content. Super, super, super important. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at something that maybe you do and maybe you don't do. And this is going to be tip number 6. Add in those spices. So you don't have to do this every single day, but this is a way to like add some variety and some flavor into your different smoothies. Add in cinnamon. There are tons of weight loss benefits to adding cinnamon. Studies show that adding cinnamon into your regular nutrition can help you actually create a place of weight loss for your body. Cinnamon actually balances blood glucose as well, right? Studies have shown that. And that's our goal, is to get away from this and to get more of this, right? My job is to minimize those highs and lows for you and to get you on a more even keel. That's exactly what my job is. So adding in spices, consider adding in cinnamon, consider adding in turmeric. Another good one is ginger cacao. That's another amazing one to add in. So number 6, add in those spices. Okay. Earlier, one of my tips was I love fats, right? That was number 4. I think it was number 4. So let's talk about fats. Let's loop back to fats. We want to add in healthy fats, okay? And we want to add in nut butters are really, really, really great options, right? So why are nut butters really great options? Nut butters are really great options because you can read the back of the label and you can see exactly what's in your nut butter. Healthy fat, right? You want to make certain that in the ingredients you see nuts, the type of nuts, or the type of seed that you're actually purchasing. You don't want any of those extra oils like safflower oil. You want to make certain, again, that you look at sugar. Sugar is the number one thing that like no bueno in our nut butters, right? We don't want sugar in our nut butters. We want to make certain that our nut butters are nice and healthy, that we have that beautiful, healthy fat. So that is tip number 7, healthy nut butters. If you see that it's got sugar, put it back. If you see that it's got an oil, OIL, put it back, right? You want to read the back of it and you want to make certain that on the back of it, that it's got the nut that you want and then it's got the seed that you're actually purchasing. So that way you make certain that you have exactly what it is that you like think, right? Like think clean, not all that excess stuff. All right, our last of the day, right? This is our last tip, but not our least tip. It's actually one of our most important. Are you ready? Da, 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 da. This is the most important one. So earlier I had said, like, definitely don't use fruit, like a fruit juice as your base. I want you guys to really think about using those nut milks that I talked about. But this is the jam. You got to find the unsweetened one. Sugar, right? You have to seek out your unsweetened one, or you can make your own, right? Which is like, it's not crazy. I'm just not like the person to do that. I'll just go ahead and grab it. Like that's the amount of work I'm going to do when I like get my milk. Right. So when you're looking for those nut milks, like you just have to seek out the unsweetened one, because again, we have all those sugars. So think about the tips that we have given you today, right? We want to eliminate the fruit juice, sugar. I'm going to go back to my notes. I need to go back to my notes and make sure that I get it all right. We want to make certain that we eliminate all the sugar from those fruit juices, right? Or minimize those. We want to make certain that we don't have too much fruit, because again, you're pumping that sugar up. We want to make certain that whenever we get our nut butter, that we don't have extra sugar in those nut butters, right? And then finally, whenever we're getting that nut milk, we want to make certain that it's unsweetened. So you can quickly see how when you put all of these things together, you're like, I don't get it, but I'm picking all these healthy options. Why is it that I'm not getting to where it is that I want to get to? It's because all that stuff is hidden. And how is it that you're supposed to know unless somebody tells you? That's my job. That's my job, is to share that info with you. So when you're thinking about how it is that I can make awesome smoothies, how is it that I can do all this awesome stuff, make certain that you come back to this video and that you listen to this video and you're like, okay, right, I'm going to make an awesome smoothie. So do me a solid, make certain that you comment below, make certain that you like our channel, make certain that you're following the Ignite method and all the amazing things it is that we're doing. Check out Fit Free and Fabulous on Facebook. Make certain that you check us out on Instagram at ignite_kickboxing or at Steph Priest for more information. We love to give out all the information that we possibly can. So make certain that you're following us on all of those different spaces, because all that information comes out all the time. If you're new to our channel, welcome. And I hope that you found this information to your liking. So you guys know the drill. Take it easy. Don't be sleazy. Bye.